Hello again, my friends. It's Carpo Wolf here again for another episode. This is, I guess, well, this video should be the addendum to my previous video that I did. And I wanted to upload this directly after the previous video to ease the burden of the feedback I will probably get for that last claim I made, or that last statement. And I improperly made it. I basically, after I finished the video, I went in and said, I better look that up because somebody's going to call me out on it. What I recited was that something along the lines of, I would rather believe in a higher power and be wrong than believe in nothing and be right. And instantly somebody's going to say that's Pascal's wager. And it is. Pascal's wager is a philosophical discussion which poses the question of, is it better to believe in God or not? And this sounds like a silly question at first until you really consider the mathematical equations involved in this and what is the gain, net, and loss and stuff. Now, the quote as I heard it was not Pascal's wager as it's proposed in there. There are several different versions of it. Pascal's wager basically says, I would rather believe in a God, I would rather believe in God and be right. Or and be right than believe in what was it? I'd rather believe in God and be wrong than believe in nothing and go to, and burn in hell. And that's the theory behind it, is that if you're wrong, you burn in hell. And the way I said it, the way I heard it, was from a different person. I don't remember. It wasn't Albert Camus. He said that too. But several people have used the same philosophy. But I want to first pose what Pascal's wager is, and then go on to discuss the philosophical implications of that and how it relates to what I'm trying to convey. And I'm referring to the foremost authority on this subject, which is Wikipedia. No, of course it's Rational Wiki is what it's called. RationalWiki.org is a pretty interesting place to go and see what's in there, and you're going to get stuck on the internet looking for the same shit anyway. So. It says, Pascal's wager is an argument that asserts one should believe in God, even if God's existence cannot be proven or disproven through reason. Okay? And here's the 4 parts of Pascal's wager. 1, if you believe in God, and God does exist, you will be rewarded with eternal life in heaven, thus an infinite gain. 2, if you do not believe in God, and God does exist, you will be condemned to remain in hell forever, thus an infinite loss. 3, if you believe in God, and God does not exist, you will not be rewarded, thus a finite loss. And 4, if you do not believe in God, and God does not exist, you will not be rewarded, but you have lived your own life, thus a finite gain. So let's step away from this for a minute and say, that last line right there, if you do not believe in God, and God does not exist, you will be rewarded, but you have lived your own life, thus a finite gain. Now this implication says that by believing in God, you're not living your own life. And in many cases this would be true, especially with Christianity, Islam. However, there's a gray area here, which is the belief that the universe is conscious. I know there are a million names for this. There's pantheism, there's the idea that of all the different ways that the universe spread its seed, all the different theories behind whether there's a Big Bang or a cosmic crunch, or what they call the big burp, or whatever the hell. There's a million theories about where we're at, but the point comes down to, is the universe conscious, right? Now the problem here, and this is something that's kind of, it's difficult to convey, is that the Pascal's wager argument, it seems to assume that the person is wanting to be rewarded, first of all. And there's another part in here that has to do with that, but it seems to assume that the person believes in a God that wants to reward them. Whereas if you just believe that the universe is conscious and aware, let's say, or that you're part of a greater whole or a bigger picture. Let's say you're not believing in God, per se, but you're believing in something that you cannot prove. Yet that thing that you're believing makes you comfortable and does not harm anyone around you. Should you believe in that, or should you use your rational mind to push that out because you know it to be wrong? And many things that people believed in the past, they pushed out to believe to be wrong, and then science proved them to be right. So the difficulty is in asking yourself, what is living your own life? And if living your own life means believing in something will make you happier, then maybe that's a better way to live. Now this assumes that you're living in service to yourself and as opposed to living in service to an external God. So if you're living your life in belief in a higher power, but that belief means that you believe that God, the Christ consciousness, or God comes from within, or that you have the power to change, that completely changes the whole argument. You're not seeking an afterlife. You're not looking for rewards in any other life. You're looking for a reward in this life, to be happy in this fucking life. I'm sorry for the language. It's really hard to get that across. To be happy in this life is often what it means to believe in God for some people. It has nothing to do with heaven or reincarnation. But if you tell an atheist that, they will often say, no, you're just trying to delude yourself, that it must be easy to believe in something without proof, but you're wrong. And I guess the question that I'm posing here is, does it matter if you're wrong? You could spend your whole life arguing against people who believe in something, yet one day you'll be laying on your deathbed, your final moments, and you'll say, how did I live? Was it just telling others what to believe, or was I happy? And I'm glad that I've realized this at a younger age. I've known this for a long time, that we have to find our own happiness and our own version of reality, but it's very hard to express that to people who think that you're just dumb or deluded. Not that it matters, but I find myself being over-rational about many things with certain people, and with other things, I tend to be under-rational. And so this is what I'm questioning. What do I think about Pascal's wager? So there's another part down here that I wanted to get. There's all the problem with evil, the total self-interest, the moral case for dead children, all these different things. None of these fit into the category of the wager the way that I'm considering it with my statement. And so really this doesn't fit at all, and that's why I think that it's not that I would rather believe in God because I go to heaven. It's more that I'd rather believe in something that makes me happy. And by saying this, of course, I'm just making general conversation. I obviously don't believe in a God. I don't have a belief system. I never have, but I find myself leaning towards what I know in my heart, which is that there's more to this than mechanics, okay? That there's more to nature than just random chance and mechanics. Everything is here. We have no idea why or how, but we have to make the best of it while we're here. And most of the theories come up short in my mind as to, what it's all about. All of them fall short, and they probably always will. So there's a little chart right here, and I won't try to read it, but it basically breaks it down into if there were multiple gods and how it changes Pascal's wager. And it says if we extend the number of gods to infinite, it says an atheist will always get this in the afterlife, a theist will always get this in the afterlife, and an omnitheist will always get this in the afterlife. Meaning that all three end up with the same gain in the afterlife if there's such a thing. So at this point, the question doesn't become whether there's an afterlife, it becomes who's living the happiest in this world right now? Is it the atheist or is it the theist? Of course, this depends on the person. You can't say atheists or theists are happier. What it comes down to is what makes you happier, without taking external input for everyone who's trying to tell you there's an explanation for that and then it falls short, or deluding yourself into refusing to listen to explanations that can show you how things work because you're deluded. And this is kind of the fine line that I walk, where I might believe something, but if I'm shown ample evidence to prove it otherwise, I will not negate it. It's very hard to. But the evidence sometimes presented is perhaps from a source that isn't unviable, and it's a cluster out there. A cluster, fuck, no pun intended there, but anyway. So there's several objections, the ideas of the existence of a soul, and we can just negate all that bullshit. None of that really matters. That stuff becomes irrelevant in my mind. I don't see that we can prove a soul exists. I don't see that we can prove God exists. I don't see that we can prove much of anything beyond our, beyond our minds. So let's put it this way. We have telescopes that allow us to see deep into space. The first time that Hubble looked through the deep field view and he saw that those stars he saw were actually other galaxies, that blew his fucking mind. And it's still blowing people's minds today. And so I'm going to finish this off by just kind of putting forth this idea of how, the energy inside atoms, whatever's going on in there, basically they will say that the actual matter in an atom is so minute that it's like a rice grain in a stadium, the reality is that we don't even know if that's real matter. And if it is, then what is that matter? It's just more energy. So energy creates atoms, create molecules, create compounds. They create these cells, which create beings, bodies. These bodies are on planets, which rotate around sun in the solar system. And these solar systems aplenty, with their companion stars, rotate in an orbit around a black hole. And my belief is that every single one of these galaxies we can see through our telescope in this flat space, they say, is rotating around a still larger center that we cannot even comprehend. And perhaps that's rotating around a larger center. And when you start to really put it in perspective and realize that it's kind of a joke to try to make an assumption about what the universe really is, then you get down and dirty to the mathematics of it. And you start to realize that unless you understand the math, and there is a mathematical equation that explains a lot of things, not just one math equation, but that the universe is mathematical, and it speaks to us through numbers and math, and patterns is what it really is. And my belief is that we can find those patterns outside of mathematics. So let me just say that mathematics and art and music were always very important parts of our society. And while a lot of people, mathematicians, are out there exploring the universe, and they're saying their equations are correct, and they know that they explain things, here we have the artist and the musician, myself being both of them, who feel and see that same pattern of God through the existence of music, through making music, as if nature's flowing through you. You paint things you don't understand. You think things you don't understand. You write songs you have no idea how you came up with, and you just know there's something greater. But the equation can't be put on paper. It can only be put through the notes or through the medium that you're using. So I would say we should give respect to the beliefs of artists and musicians almost as much as mathematicians. Because how many times have you looked at a math equation and had it move you the way a beautiful painting or a wonderful song does? I think that we should all give a little bit more credibility to that intuition of just knowing that there's something greater. But who am I to say? I'm just a guy in a